Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I'm here checking out Goldeneye. But not just any Goldeneye, it's the leaked closed beta of Goldeneye that was originally supposed to be released on Xbox Live in like 2007, but never came out for reasons including, I believe, they didn't want the James Bond games to have blood in them anymore. Everyone thought that was a little ridiculous, but nevertheless, for whatever reason, this just never came out, but it was leaked to the internet last week, and I finally got my ass around to playing it, because I'm always slow when it comes to these things. Notably, this was extremely easy to get up and running, even by emulation standards, because I like to think of myself as relatively capable with emulators, but this is even easier than I thought. So, if I just hit F11, there is no settings to customize here whatsoever. And the funny thing is, I'm actually using a controller, but not an Xbox controller. For whatever damn reason, this thing recognizes my DualSense. My PlayStation 5 controller, when it's plugged in via USB. Why? I don't know, but there's very little in the way of actual glitches when you actually start this up. It's quite impressive just how good it is. I actually ended up sourcing a copy of Perfect Dark on Xbox Live Arcade, only to find out that it looks like that all the weapons and models are being sent through a freaking analog connection and it's about to drop out constantly. Everything's got this radio sheen over the top of it, and it's really annoying. Strange how Goldeneye turns out to be better than Perfect Dark in this regard, but anyway. There really isn't that much to see. There's a few new things to this port. Some of them I'll talk about in more detail later on, like the control scheme. Some neat options going on here. You have to put the screen letterbox to full and 16:9 to get the best picture. Your credits. Achievements and Return to Arcade doesn't actually do anything. And multiplayer lets you play over local and system link. I do believe the original leak had Xbox Live Arcade here, but it was locked out for whatever reason. And you've got all the usual stuff here from the multiplayer. Goldeneye was admittedly never my favorite. I was always a Perfect Dark guy. But there is one thing here that is notable for being not only new, but interesting. So yeah, the handicap, the weapon sets and all that, they're all still here. But if you go to the more options, auto-aim disabled, crosshairs disabled, and unequal character heights. What a bloody option to add to your online version of Goldeneye from the Nintendo 64, huh? But anyway, we're just going to do the normal thing, and we're just going to play some single-player missions. I've played through up to Statue, and I've honestly never liked the second half of the game after Statue. Train's alright, but the rest of the levels can just kind of go jump, in my personal opinion. All of the really good ones, like Facility, Bunker 1, Silo, and Frigate, are all in the first half. So, you know, that's just my personal opinion, but we're just going to work with it anyway. As always, you got your three difficulties with their different objectives available to them, and all the briefings, as far as I'm aware, are about the same. The thing is that the gameplay is mostly unchanged. They've just changed up the controls a bit and made it look better. Even sounds the same. No voice acting, obviously, but it still just happens to look really nice, and it's got that thing that Microsoft are really good at, where if you press a button, you can swap back to the original graphics, although this is really an approximation. It doesn't look exactly like this. I would have liked to have seen just a higher res version of this, because it looks like they've added a blur filter over everything for no discernible reason. Then you bring it back to the high def, and suddenly everything is nice and sharp again. I would have liked to have seen it sharp, but oh well. So let's go about our business by taking care of his business. So yeah, it's Goldeneye. It's actually got a lot of the old Goldeneye staples, including the weird-ass animations. All the weapons feel exactly the same. And you're mostly getting around with auto-aim, but you do have access to the manual aim on your left trigger and your left bumper with the ability to peek behind walls. Always fun. So as a result, it's basically just a version of Goldeneye that plays better. It's traditional twin stick, so you look around and aim with the right stick, and you move with the left stick. And it's very comfortable. It's comfortable in the same way that Perfect Dark's control scheme on Xbox Live Arcade is comfortable. But what I actually came to appreciate more from this version of the game versus the Nintendo 64 one is how they've changed the controls around a bit. And I'll be happy to show you what I mean once we get on through to the other side. Well, I'll actually show you a bit later. We'll just glance at Goldeneye's majesty. Because it really is still fun to play today. Still pretty damn difficult if you don't know what you're doing. Usually some guys come up from behind me there, but I guess they're not paying too much attention today. Because the way Goldeneye's levels actually work is that you tend to go in with no information whatsoever on what you really need to be doing. I mean, you've got your objectives, but sometimes how to accomplish them can be considerably unclear. So you might know that you need to find someone, but you'll have no idea where to find them in the actual level. And of course, this is Goldeneye. They have a tendency to randomize those sorts of things if they can get away with it, which is why I have to scan every room on my way through. Nevertheless, though, it's still a lot of fun to play. Especially since the performance of it is rock solid. And it's not like... admittedly, it's not rock solid, but this is an emulation thing where whenever you see something new, the game will freeze for a moment in order to do some kind of cache compiling. I don't know the exact terminology for it, but basically every now and again when you're playing a new level, the game will just like slow down a little bit. But since we're mainly going to be playing through levels that I've already played through once, we're not going to run into any trouble. Oh dear. Although it is kind of nice to be playing a game where you don't die in like 3 shots when you're out of cover. Even on 00 Agent. On 00 Agent you get something like between 6 and 8. Although there are weapons that will wipe the floor with you if you aren't careful. But thankfully you are given what you need to survive. In fact, one could argue that it might have almost been made too easy, because even on the original control scheme there was a lot that you couldn't do. But now that you've got the ability to not only strafe, but strafe run and circle strafe, you can generally run circles around the enemies. Makes them a lot harder for them to shoot you. Plus it's relatively more satisfying to be able to just duck in and out from behind cover like that. But here's a nice thing about the controls. They've actually updated them significantly for this port. And there is a fair amount that they've done to make the game more comfortable. So I've already talked about how you can move and aim with the left and right sticks like you would in any other first-person shooter. And it's as comfortable as it's going to get, right? But there are even some minor things that they've done. Like when you hold the left bumper or the left trigger to go into your zoom, they've even added the ability for you to have this little circle around the outside that tells you how far you can aim before the whole screen starts moving, which is a really nice touch that they didn't even duplicate in Perfect Dark to my knowledge, and that's kind of depressing. They've also simplified the controls for selecting your equipment. So if you press the Y button, I think it is, on the Xbox 360 controller, it swaps to your next weapon. Simple enough. But you might notice it doesn't actually scroll through the gadgets like it used to. So that's what the B button is for. The B button is dedicated strictly to going through your gadgets. So if you find yourself up to somewhere where you need to use a gadget, it's easy enough. You just press the B button once or twice, and there you go. It's incredibly simple and quite satisfying. And it makes me a little bit disappointed, because while I was playing the Perfect Dark port by 4J Studios, they had nothing like that. They tried to like mimic a bunch of the other control schemes from other first-person shooters, namely Call of Duty and Halo, and neither of them put that much thought into it, which is immensely disappointing. Also, you can crouch on the left and the right stick, which is a little odd. And the right bumper is what lets you swap between the original and the retro graphics. And I maintain that it looks great. So as a result, it really is just... Whoops. I just killed... Oh dear. You can even do it during this cutscene as well, which is nice. Although it kind of makes 007 look like a dork. We're not going to do Runway. I've always hated Runway. Silo! One of my personal favorites. Yeah. See, all these little changes that they've made on top of an already perfectly solid core makes Goldeneye on the Xbox arguably one of the best ways to play the game. I forgot about you. And I am legitimately having a good amount of fun playing through it. Yeah, one of you guards has the bloody key card that lets me... No, guards. Oi! Alright, it wasn't you. Guess it's the last guy I have to go hold up. Where's the key card? There it is. It really is the best way to play Goldeneye. It controls really smoothly. It plays really well. And the only things that there are to complain about, at least in this closed beta build, are the slight minor graphical glitches that there are. Like, we're probably going to have time to go through Frigate if I survive this. But the one thing you'll notice immediately about Frigate is that it has no water. That's probably the biggest visual glitch I know of. There are a few others. Apparently in the jungle, some of the trees are just like static purple models and it just doesn't look right. Minor things like that, you know, but again, closed beta. Not gonna blame the people who are working on this for that at all. Purely because it was never meant to go out to the public. It'd be neat if we got our hands on the full version. But I'm not gonna complain. Right, keycard. Oh, looks like he already dropped it and ran off. Guy knows what's good for him, I suppose. I always liked Silo, just because of how much of a bloody action-packed ride that it was. But now that I know more about the development of Goldeneye, I actually love it a bit more, because it's like the only level in the game that truly communicates what the original intentions of Goldeneye was supposed to be. Because you see, wrong door, it's the next one. Goldeneye was originally meant to be a light gun shooter, with all that entails. Going on rails, ducking behind cover and what have you. But over time, it just eventually turned into a proper first-person shooter with spread levels, objectives, and all. But Silo is very clearly still designed around this, because it's clearly just a straight fucking line. Nothing wrong with that, of course. It's kind of hilarious, actually. I'm just saying that it's surprisingly notable. And here's what it looks like in the non-HD mode, although the textures aren't as good looking as they're supposed to be. I mean, it was never a very good looking game to begin with. It was on the Nintendo 64, for God's sake. But there was actually a specific texture filtering technique that they used on the Nintendo 64, which meant that the textures, when they're ported over to here, just don't look right. And you need to make a very specific filter just for that. But that's okay. Tell you one thing that I do hate about this, though, although I honestly don't remember this being in the original Goldeneye, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. You can't shoot if you get shot. Most first-person shooters will help you not get shot. That guy's missing his head. Ain't that something? See, a nearly headless Nick. Yeah, in this, if you get shot and you're in your pain state, your invulnerability frames, you can't shoot at anything. Which is immensely annoying. Because it's entirely possible for you to get shot again before you have the ability to really shoot back. And then you'll just get continually shot and die. Which can be one of the most annoying things imaginable to me, honestly. Especially when you're really having trouble with, like, Bunker 2, which is just filled with a ridiculous amount of enemies. Right, it was the other way. I got plenty of time, but not much health. They don't give you that much in the way of body armor in this game either. And that's probably my major complaint with Goldeneye. Although I gotta tell you, man, Perfect Dark is still the better game. But it's still kind of neat to get a little bit of a piece of video game history going on right here. And it's legitimately super easy to play. Just archive.org/details/007XBLA. Those are all numbers. That'll get you the files you need. Just download it, extract it, and then in the file open menu in the Xenia emulator, just pick the default.xex in the files that you extracted. See what I mean about there being no water? We'll keep it on ugly normie mode for a while. It's not really that ugly. Well, lost a hostage. I was never very good at this level. It's kind of funny to hear this music over the top of this kind of graphics setting. I'm surprised I didn't go to the effort of remixing it, but then again, I suppose the Goldeneye soundtrack is classic after all. Make sure this hostage doesn't die. Another good reason for the B button being the... Oh, Jesus. Another good reason for the B button being the dedicated gadget button. And when you press the X button, you just go right back to the weapon that you had. Right back out to the weapon that you had when you were going for your gadgets. Legitimately really damn cool. Yeah, it's still the exact same Goldeneye. All the animations are the same. Most of the models. Except, of course, when you're playing in high definition, of course. But the animations, the way the weapon sways, the way that... just the way that it feels is pretty much identical. This is clearly a really well done port. Except when that happens. That's more like it. Oh, whoops. Well, he left the guy alone at least. That's a good bonus. Can even still send their hats flying. There we go. Stop the bombs. Ow. He was really trying. Just keep aiming those guns at me, buddy. You'll get me eventually. Yeah, GoldenEye is still a good FPS to this day. And this modern coat of... it's so depressing we never got this good coat of paint on it, because... really would have helped to show people just how good GoldenEye actually was back on the Nintendo 64. Euro Chopper. Pirate Euro Chopper. Ain't that something? I mean, I still enjoy Perfect Dark more for its better suite of weapons, more complex missions, amazingly good multiplayer suite. I can still hop into a good game of multiplayer Perfect Dark to this day. I gotta tell you though, this is a really good remake, remaster, port, whatever the hell the term is for them these days. Ah, fuck it, we'll do damn. And yeah, super easy to go play. Download the emulator, download the game, unzip, open the right file, plug your controller in, even if it's a fucking DualSense, and off you go. Yay! Sniper! Still a bit of a bitch to aim, I gotta tell ya. Yeah, screw it. You just get it straight in the chest, mate. Screw you. Wait a minute, where's this other guy? There he is. I can understand the swing forward, but why the swing back? Like, yeah, that one there. It just kind of looks like you're gently trying to shave his face or something. I don't know, man. Also, I kind of like the fact that the hats stick around a lot longer than the actual bodies do. Ain't that a laugh? Ain't that a freaking laugh? Some people have also taken to playing this over System Link via some kind of emulation. I'd be lying if I said I knew exactly how that worked. But that's kind of neat, people being able to play Goldeneye online in something actually designed for it. Instead of having to hop onto like some weird Nintendo 64 emulator that doesn't quite work right. It can only be played at like 40 ping or less without completely losing its marbles. Like, it's even notable that it kept a lot of the original artistic direction. Like, sure, you got trees up there, but the cliffs look almost exactly the same. The crates look almost exactly the same. The switches are practically identical. In comparison to some other remakes which can change the style up a bit to the point where it doesn't feel like the same game anymore. This has done a really decent job of it. There's even one kind of neat thing they got going on in the intro movie. You know the original intro movie? Where they, like, do a casting call of all the original characters? And it's like, James and Natalia and 006 and what have you. In that, what they do is... Oh, shit. In that, what they do is they have the original models, and then halfway through the particular character's intro, they swap it to the new model. It's just a nice touch. I can't help but wonder what the achievements would have been. Although they probably would have been limited to like the 12 achievements and the what, 250 points that you got with the you know, Xbox Live Arcade limitations back then. So who knows? Probably would have just been win a bunch of multiplayer matches, complete the game on 00 Agent, maybe shoot the hidden science flasks or what have you in Facility. That would have been about it though. Although Perfect Dark did come out after that, and it did have that like medal system where it was a bunch of achievements in achievements that weren't actually achievements. So I probably could have done something like that. Although this version doesn't really hint at that, and there wasn't really any hint of that in the full version that went out to some people as well. Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck licensing. Ruins everything. I'm probably gonna die during this just because there's so... Yeah, there we go. Gotta show you what dying looks like. Although the sound does appear to be a slight bit off-timed, where it starts the whole death tune just a little bit too quickly, although I think it depends on how, whatchamacallit works. I think it depends on what level you die on and how fast you die. But yeah, that was just a quick ramble about this port, remaster, remake, whatever the bloody hell you want to call it. It's actually really good, and it's also really easy to play. So, if you have like a relatively decent computer, you could probably go plug a controller into your computer, download the game, download this, and have a good time. With that said, this has been Blue Maxima, and I'll see you all next time.